A month after a daytime shooting in Holyoke claimed the life of an infant and injured his mother, who was pregnant with him at the time, the City Council will now further their discussion on a safety plan proposed by the city's mayor. Welcome everyone to Western Mass News at 6 on this Thursday. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Abby Carnevale. Western Mass News reporter Maria Wilson joins us live inside Holyoke City Hall with the next steps for Ezekiel's plan, named after that young victim. Maria?
Abby, Chris, the Holyoke City Council meeting began just moments ago, and on tonight's agenda is to discuss the mayor's public safety plan aimed at curbing gun violence here in the city of Holyoke. The plan came after a daytime shooting in downtown Holyoke that tragically took the life of a young baby and seriously injured his mother, who was pregnant with him at the time and caught in the crossfire of the gunshots while sitting on the PVTA bus. Mayor Garcia naming that project Ezekiel's Plan Operation Safe Streets in honor of that young infant. And just moments from now, Mayor Garcia will bring his plan before the City Council for their approval. It calls for $1 million in new spending that would launch a comprehensive approach to quelling violence throughout the city and making residents feel safer. Some of the key components of that plan include hiring 13 additional police officers, installing a citywide surveillance camera system, and increasing inspections of rental properties. The plan has a heavy focus around law enforcement related measures, but the plan also calls for, quote, proactive strategies. The details of those community-based measures were not outlined in the safety plan's initial announcement. And as I mentioned, that meeting began moments ago, and tonight they will discuss that plan. We will bring you the latest details on their discussion from tonight's meeting coming up later tonight on Western Mass News. For now, reporting live in Holyoke, Maria Wilson, Western Mass News.
Maria,